Thank you guys for coming. So we thought this would be a great year to start and kick off celebrating Law Day, which is May 1st every year. But we have some really wonderful programs on campus that are related to either law enforcement or the legal field in some areas. So we wanted to highlight that. So I've got an incredible panel of people here, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So we'll start with that, and then I have a few questions, and then we'll open it up for the audience. Feel free while you're here. We've got some cookies and lemonade and stuff on the side, so feel free to get up and grab some things. So we're going to start off with my friend here to my left.
Hello, everyone. I am Chief Byron Roberson. I work for Prairie Village Police Department, and I've been there for 29 years. Thank you for having me.
Hi, I'm Kate Allen. I'm Vice President for Advancement here on our campus, and I've been here since 2010.
Megan Williams. I'm an Assistant District Attorney with the Johnson County DA's office, and I've been with this office for the past 2.5 years.
Hi there, I'm Frank Galbrecht Sr. I'm with Johnson County Community College. I'm with the Criminal Justice Program, and I'm the chair of that program.
So we also have this one that's live too, so we'll let you guys share that, and we'll share this one. Okay, so I know some of you, when you introduced yourself, you said, you mentioned the job you're doing today. Can you expand on what kind of job you have today?
So the Chief of Police has a job of overall leadership of the department. I have other individuals who are in my senior leadership group that we try to make sure that the policies are correct, that our training is up to par to make sure our officers are doing the right thing and keeping themselves safe and the community safe. As well as just our overall leadership. So the Chief of Police, that is what their main priority is, the overall leadership of the organization.
The Advancement Division on our campus has 5 departments. I'll just rattle through them real quickly. We've got Government Affairs, so we work in Topeka and DC on laws and regulations that impact our campus. We have our Grants Department, which is federal, state, and local grants to help support our campus. We've got the Foundation, which is the 501c3 charitable arm of our college that accepts all of the gifts and donations to help support students and programs here. And then I've got what I call the 2 art houses, the Nerman Museum and the Midwest Trust Center. So we deal with a lot of contracts with artists and different kinds of performances and exhibitions that help attract people to our campus.
So the District Attorney's Office is an office of prosecutors. I think there's about 40 attorneys in the office, and we prosecute crimes in Johnson County, Kansas. We work closely with law enforcement. We receive and review reports from them, and we make a decision on whether or not to file criminal charges. Once the charges are filed, a case goes through the court system, and ultimately we end up trying jury trials. We also have an appellate unit that writes briefs and does oral arguments in front of the Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court.
Here at Johnson County Community College, we have a criminal justice program, just like a math program, English program. If you're interested in knowing more about the criminal justice system, that would be the police, courts, or corrections. That's what our program does. You can get an Associate of Arts in this program, or you can just attend some of our courses just for fun.
Excellent, thank you. So maybe we'll start with Frank on this one. Why did you go into the law-related field that you went into?
In the criminal justice program?
Yeah, and you also have a history as a police officer for the city of Olathe.
Right. I always wanted really to teach, and that was back in grad school. That's a few years back. But I said, before I wanted to teach, I also wanted to get experience. So I actually went to college, went to grad school, and did all of that stuff. And then I got hired on by Olathe Police Department. That's a number of decades ago. And I wanted to get that experience, and I wanted to do that. And I did that for over 3 decades, and then had an opportunity to work here part-time while I was still working at my other job, so I started doing it adjunct. That's a nice fancy word for part-time. And then I eventually did retire out and working here full-time since 2008.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I too was in grad school. I was actually living in the United Kingdom, going to grad school, and I took a class on international criminal law. And that really, for me, I just kind of fell in love with it. And it was a focus on victims of crimes and helping victims and community safety and public safety. And I just loved it. I developed a passion for it. And so I decided that I wanted to be a prosecutor. And so when I moved back home, I decided that I wanted to go to law school. And when I was in law school, I kind of focused my area on becoming a prosecutor. So I took all the classes that I could, jury selection courses, cross-examination courses that would help me do that. And then I landed an internship with the Shawnee County DA's office my third year of law school. Loved it. Got hired on as an ADA after I graduated, and I guess the rest is history. I've been a prosecutor ever since.
I was just a kid who liked history and social sciences and student council and doing volunteer work and wanted to work. I thought I would work in DC, maybe with a non-government agency, maybe join the Peace Corps. Like that was kind of my mindset when I was a teenager. So when I went to college, I majored in political science. And when you finish that degree, you're kind of like, well, how do I translate these things that I like into a day job? That was a big leap for me. So I knew some folks applying to law school, and I didn't have any attorneys in my family. I didn't really know what that meant. But I thought, okay, if I can get accepted and get some scholarship money, I'm going to try it. And I did. So I went in a pretty naive way, looking back, abundantly naive going into it. But I really did like it. I just knew I wasn't really going to be I didn't have an interest in being like a law firm lawyer. So I was able to kind of move that into, again, kind of a non-government, nonprofit type attorney. And that's kind of how I found my niche and moved forward.
So I grew up in a household with two parents who were both teachers. So when I got done with school, I had more school at home. So at first, I was going towards being a teacher because I would, in the summertime, I would go with my mother to her, she taught summer school, and I would go be her little helper. And I liked, that aspect about teaching, kids, and you get something back. And, I didn't know that, they didn't make any money, but that wasn't the most important thing back then. I didn't really know any difference. So as time went on, I was also motivated by things that were fun and things I wanted to do. So, I started thinking either the military or I want to be a cop. And so I went and saw this movie with my dad at a very early age. Some of you may know the less theatrical version of Walking Tall. You probably know the Rock one, which that is not the one I'm talking about. But the original one was a sheriff in Tennessee named Buford Pusser, and it was called Walking Tall. That really, from then on, I wanted to be a cop. And so I centered most of my life in doing things to get there, joining the Marine Corps and taking college courses in criminal justice. And then I finally graduated and made my way through different jobs to become a cop. And then my second part of my life is I kind of did what my other panelists did. I went back, well, they did it first, and that was probably the right way to do it, or the best way to do it. I went later on in life after I had kids and family and went back and to get my master's degree. But I'm glad I did, because I did want to teach. So eventually I became an adjunct. I'm an adjunct at UMKC, teaching criminal justice. And I don't know if that'll be my future, but it is rewarding. So.
Thank you. So we'll start with, I guess we'll start with Frank at the end there, because the microphone's down there now. What are some common misconceptions about careers in the field you're in?
Teaching.
Teaching.
Yeah.
We'll go with teaching on here.
Some misconceptions. Man, that's kind of hard. I did adjunct, which is part-time, so I knew what I was getting into. I was kind of making sure once I retired if this was something I really wanted to do, and I didn't want a surprise after I retired. Misconception. Well, if I can think of anything, as a chair, a little more administrative work than I thought. Hadn't expected. I was more focusing on like 80%, 90% teaching. Yeah, so I don't know if that helps a whole lot, but that, working that part-time, those 7 years really helped going, okay, this is what it's like, and so on. It's like anything. I have a passion for it. I always have. So that just carries me no matter what comes my way. So it's kind of hard to really say a misconception. No, I kind of had a good idea it was coming. So maybe the lesson there is, whatever you're going to pursue in life, maybe you should shadow somebody that career. Maybe you should find an internship. Maybe you should do volunteer work first for this particular, whatever you're interested in. I know I have a daughter. She did an internship when she was in junior high and fell in love with shadowing this person for half a day, and she says, this is for me, and that's what she does now. So maybe that's the takeaway here.
I kind of echo that recommendation on internships and shadowing if you think you're interested in something, because I think with prosecution, one of the biggest misconceptions that I've seen is people sometimes tend to think we're the bad guys, like whenever somebody asks me, what I do, I tell them I'm an attorney, and I tell them I'm in criminal law, and they automatically assume I'm a defense attorney. Criminal defense attorneys are great. I work well with a lot of them, but then I tell them I'm a prosecutor, and they get this look on their face like, oh, and, because we're the ones, asking to put people in jail or send them to prison, and I think that there's a lot more that goes into the work of a prosecutor. We have higher ethical standards than other attorneys. We are seekers of justice, seekers of the truth. And so there's a lot more than just, putting bad guys away or wanting people off the streets. And I think that's kind of a big misconception. So I guess I would echo, if you think you're interested in prosecution, absolutely shadow, do an internship so you can get a better idea of kind of what goes on behind the scenes, because there's a lot.
I'll just share a general misperception that I'm a part of, and I looked it up to make sure my stat was right. So the ABA, American Bar Association, did a report that the 2018 graduating class, they reported about 50% of them do not work in law firms. So being an attorney can help you in all different aspects of your life. Some part of me wishes everybody had a little, like a pre-law class or something, just to help them navigate our daily lives in our country and in our municipality. So I do think it can just help you much more broadly, much more comprehensively than people realize. So there's a lot in law school for a lot of different types of thinkers and doers. You're not always recruited by those folks. Most of the job interviews were all for law firms, I found. So you do have to do a little more legwork to kind of find where you might fit in. But I hope that people see it as kind of more of an open access type of school that generally can help everyone.
So I probably am in the profession that has the biggest number of misconceptions. I would say probably one of the bigger misconceptions right now for the public is that police officers love and want to arrest everybody that they come in contact with, and it is it's true to a certain extent, but you have to look at it in the right way. And educating yourself about what police do, I think that's a common theme you're hearing. Educating yourself about what police do will make the difference in your misconceptions about policing. So any job, so pick any job out there that a person does. Let's say you're a new lawyer or you're a new teacher. You probably take on more jobs that nobody else wants. You probably work harder than everyone else in the office that's been there for 10 or 15 years because, one, you want to make a name for yourself. Two, you're young and you're energetic and you want to go out and you want to make a difference, and that's how you make a difference. For a police officer, same thing. When they're hired as a young police officer, they're not trying to sit behind a desk and not arrest people. They're going out there, they're contacting people, they're going to make traffic stops, they're going to arrest, people who have things or doing things that they shouldn't be doing. So they're very active. So that's where the misconception of they just want to arrest everybody and they're always stopping people and, why can't they just mind their own business? But their job is to contact people, to stop people, to assist with, traffic safety, with keeping drugs and alcoholics from driving vehicles and things like that. So that's the biggest one.
Excellent, thank you. So, and we'll start with Chief here on the end. How have you handled failure or setbacks or challenges in your career? And what have you learned from them, or what obstacles did you overcome?
Okay,
It's a tricky one?
No, that's a very good one because I've had failure, believe it or not. And it's a very ironic, who is this going out to? Is this on live TV?
Oh, yeah, it's live streamed and there's
Okay.
comments going at the same time.
Okay, because I had I had a conversation with a senior officer in my department just today actually, and it was about failure. And failure sometimes seems to be a very bad word, but it's really not. It's a learning experience. You don't think of it that way when you're the one that has failed because it hurts and you don't want to think about being a failure, but that is what it is. And I had a conversation with this officer because I had to choose someone else for a certain position, and it was devastating to him because he believed that he was that person and he believed he should have been that person, and so therefore he didn't handle it very well. So I was having a conversation with him about that very thing, that we all have failures and we have triumphs in our lives as well, but you're judged, in my opinion, about how you handle failures, and your character is judged by how you handle failures. I have handled failures at times in a negative way, and I've handled them in a good way, but I've learned from them, and I learned, I can impart that a little bit now, that that's really where you get, to be the best you, is how you handle failures and how you move forward. So I won't tell you all my failures, but I have had, plenty of failures, but I think they've made me stronger. No one wants to have them, but they will happen, and how you handle them really will determine, your future.
Excellent, thank you.
I have a whole mindset about failure. I grew up a student athlete. That's how I was able to pay for college. In sports, everything is a failure. I was a basketball player. If you make 35 to 40% of your shots, you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. I mean, the entire existence is about handling failure, and a missed shot is an opportunity for a rebound and all this kind of thing. So since I was 5 years old, everything we need a new word. It's just how it is. So how are you going to respond to it? So not getting jobs that I thought I might get, not getting into schools I thought I might get into, not making a team I thought I might make. It's just all part of the patchwork of how it is, and just not expecting everything to always be 100% perfect. If you just have that mindset, like, okay, how do I rebound from this now? So I'm actually super passionate. My kids are sick of hearing about how failure is a beautiful, beautiful thing. The gift of feedback, like listen and evolve and move on. It's really important. So in my career now, we don't get all the legislation we want to have passed. We don't get the donation we thought we were going to get. We get turned down for a grant. We don't get the turnout for an exhibition we thought we were going to get from the public. It's just, there's just constant, okay, what do we learn from that? How do we make it better? And we can usually get to yes. I like to say try to get to yes in a different way. Maybe that legislation could be tweaked in a different way to make it work. Maybe we can try the grant again in a different angle. Maybe we can advertise that show a little better and try to get them back, get more people back the next year. So you just have to look at it from that positive lens, and that's just how life is. It's not actually a failure. It's an opportunity to advance. So my kids would tell me to stop. They've heard enough, and I'll pass it on.
Yeah, failure is absolutely a learning experience. This might be surprising, but attorneys have a reputation for being competitive and type A personalities. And it's especially true with prosecutors. So, when I first got into my career, like Chief said, you're young, you're hungry, you want to go out there, you want to try the cases. You also think you know everything. And it doesn't take long to learn that you really probably don't know much of anything. And so, for me in my career, failure comes when I lose a hearing in front of a judge, or we have a jury trial and the jury finds the defendant not guilty, and I have to meet with that victim or that victim's family and kind of try to explain to them, what went wrong or what I think went wrong. And I think the biggest learning experience for me is to know that I don't know everything. That didn't take long to learn, but also, you have to. Being a prosecutor, you're one of several moving parts in the criminal justice system. And so I think if you can understand that one day at a time, and you can only control so much, and you have to know what your limits are and know how to learn from them and make it better every day, I think that's the way to deal with failure and to learn from that.
Keep going forwards no matter what, but do it in a constructive way. I'm not big for blaming the whole world and pointing the finger. I wouldn't advise that. I say go to the mirror, take a good hard look, and don't try to fool yourself. Try to learn from whatever it is, whatever that setback is. I think anything else, you dwell too much on negative emotions, because that's part of who we are as humans. It's just going to drag you down. Just how it is. So at some point you got to figure out how to move forwards, and they've all said it. What can I learn from this? And be a realist about who you are and what you have to do to make changes if you have certain goals. I don't know if anybody likes setbacks if they had a goal in mind, or if you didn't get that promotion. I don't know who particularly likes that, but it's how life is. You're imperfect, and it's just going to happen. It's just a matter of when, if it hasn't happened already. And so just figure it out. We're all in the same boat. We all don't like it always, and we all go through the same thing, but at the end of the day, you got to figure out how to move forwards in a constructive way.
Great. So thinking about your careers and where they are now, is there any time you can think of that was memorable, that made a significant impact? Maybe an event that happened, a mentor that meant a lot, just something that kind of sticks out in your timeline. And if you would share that.
I'm glad we're starting in the middle.
Right? Frank's got it.
Where I'm at today, teaching full time, the best, when you say mentor and all that, it's my experience in law enforcement. Those years in law enforcement are just great. And it really set me up well to teach in criminal justice courses. I kind of focus on the front end, which I call law enforcement. We also have instructors that do courts and those that do corrections. But I kind of focus normally on the front end because that's my biggest asset. But mentors, what's helped me is really the career itself that was before this career. That helped me a lot. I just felt comfortable. I have that confidence. I don't have to stay a chapter ahead when I do a course. It doesn't work that way. It does help to have some good people in your lives that you can look up to. And I've seen some of those in law enforcement, and I've seen some of those working here as a teacher that make it worth coming. Is that kind of what you were looking for?
I think that's great.
Yeah, what's helped me. Yeah, and plus, I enjoy the students, so that's a huge plus. And that kind of gets back to mentoring and all that. It really goes back to how much passion you have for your career, whether you're teaching or you're in the DA's office or you work for the school or in law enforcement. It's that passion. And that's a biggie too, besides some good people that you can watch and learn from. And yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
I think from a mentor perspective, for me, I had a former colleague that really helped me learn the ropes for prosecution. You know, there's a lot of teaching and education, like with any job, that when you first become a prosecutor, there's a lot of things they don't teach you in law school. And so you have to kind of learn them on the fly. And I had a former colleague who really went above and beyond and helped me kind of learn the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts of just how to be a prosecutor. And one of the areas that I was interested in, the type of crime, was special victims unit. I wanted to work with kids. And that's where I'm at today. Most of my caseload is physical allegations of physical and sexual abuse. And I'm eternally grateful to her for helping me kind of in my formative years of my career. And I think a memorable moment for me is kind of a reflection of that mentorship. Recently, we had a case with a young female 8-year-old victim, and we were, trying to resolve the case, and it was set for trial, and we didn't know if we were going to get it resolved. And we ended up getting it resolved, and it meant that she didn't have to testify against her father. And when I told her that, she ran up to me and just gave me the biggest hug. And that will stick with me to my dying day. I mean, that is the greatest part about our job, when we can say, we've got some closure for you from a really tough period of your life. That's one of the top 10 memorable moments from my career.
One of the best things I learned in law school, just to put it simply, was how to think. Like really think deeply about my arguments and how to make an argument. And if I didn't think through the other side, if I stood up and gave that argument, I was going to get dismantled pretty quickly by the other side and be embarrassed. And how to really sit there and think through the best arguments, how to make them in the most economic way, most effective way. That has been something that I've tried to use in this job. So whether I'm writing a speech for our president, where I think of what are the 10 things that she's going to get just slammed on if I don't address this right away. How can I word this so that at the end everybody's like, okay, it makes sense. Or a testimony in Topeka. How can I give the most convincing arguments so that somebody else doesn't come up right after me and just dismantle everything I just argued for. So that's been really rewarding to be able to do that effectively, not always as effectively as I want to. The second piece of that, the best thing by far that I am proud of here, is using those critical analysis skills and interview skills and hiring awesome people and being able to identify other critical thinkers that can come in and help us. So when you're an administrator, you've got to build a team. And I don't know if I would have, you can learn these skills without law school, but I needed that to help me make those good decisions. So I've been able to hire 4 executive directors who are just phenomenal leaders, and those skills that I was able to gain through legal training, I think that might be what I'm most proud of for here.
So I was, when Frank was talking and Megan was talking, I was trying to, think back who influenced me and who was mentors for me. And I've thought about this before, and I unfortunately, I don't really have one. I don't have anyone that I feel took me under their wing, so to speak. I learned from a lot of people, and maybe it was me. I don't know. Maybe it was me that they didn't feel that was approachable, or I hate to say it, maybe I wasn't the fastest pony. Maybe they chose other people. I don't know what it is, but it has made me have a little chip on my shoulder that I've picked out people and I've mentored several officers, took interest in their achievements, took interest in their failures, and showed them, how you can get better. And if they wanted that information, if they wanted that tutelage, I guess you could say. And I've been very proud. I've been very proud of several of them. And, and it's something that you don't need, kudos. You don't need, thanks, you're the greatest, kiss the ring. It is the gratitude comes when they are achieving what they are capable of. And I see a lot of, officers are that way, I see myself in some of them, and I see some of the pitfalls that I wish someone would have told me about or told me how to handle them. And I just handled them in the best way I knew how, which sometimes wasn't the best way. There were much easier ways. There was much better ways to learn from those mistakes. So when I, have those officers or even supervisors come into my office and they think that, oh no, I'm getting fired today. And sometimes they do, but most times it's something that they can recover from. And I think they're very much relieved to know that, this is something that, I may have done this also. But they, everyone believes that, you're the chief or you're a major or you're a captain or whatever, and you must not have done anything bad, because how would you be there if you did? So they are relieved to know that I did some of these same dumb mistakes, and this is how you can recover from them.
I appreciate you guys sharing all of this information, and I love how everyone up here has kind of a diverse, different experience within kind of the legal realm. So to kind of finish up, last question, I guess, from my end, is there any piece of advice other than what you've already shared that you would give to someone who's considering maybe, either a law enforcement or a legal avenue, and kind of just a little tidbit for them? Chief, would you like to take it first?
I would say, I'm going to take a little bit from Frank and Megan and Kate. Is it Kate? That's that right? Okay. And they all said, do some research and talk to somebody that has done the job, because that will give you your best idea of whether or not it's something that you could be good at anything. So I'm not even going to say it's something that you could be good at, because you could be good at anything if you put your mind to it. But it will give you an idea whether or not that's something that's going to motivate you to want to do long term. I am a big person of choose something that does motivate you, that moves you, that you enjoy. I can't imagine doing a job that I didn't enjoy. I couldn't imagine going to work every day, which a lot of my friends go to work every day and they hate it. You have to choose something that makes you want to wake up in the morning and go do it. So if you can find whatever that is, I would say go for it, whatever that is.
I'll kind of dovetail on that as far as shadowing and mentoring. If you're like me, you wouldn't even know who to mentor. You don't even know where to go to find that person that's doing that cool thing. So I just keep exploring. I mean, I kind of think maybe you decide you want to work in a restaurant industry and you work at a sushi restaurant and you hate fish. You may still be a great fit for the restaurant industry. Go work at a steakhouse, right? Just understand in law, in criminal justice and in legal field, it's a really broad, interesting field. Just keep trying to explore. And if you do land on something, absolutely try to pair up, do that job shadow, that internship, but just keep exploring to try to find that. It took me a long time to find that path, but I kind of knew I was somewhere in the right waters. So just keep going and keep exploring.
Yeah, I'd echo that. Do your research, talk to people that you might know that have some connections to the field. If it's the legal field, I don't a lot of people don't seem to know this, but you can go and watch court. You know, courtrooms are open to the public. If you have an interest, go watch a docket for an afternoon. You know, that's the nuts and bolts of being a prosecutor. Go watch oral arguments in the Court of Appeals. They put them all online if you're interested in that kind of thing. So, you know, find opportunities where you can shadow, where you can intern, where you can just kind of watch the day-to-day of the job, because that's really going to give you the best kind of picture of what that's going to look like.
Well, I'll repeat and repeat and repeat. Yes. Desire, motivation, that's one piece of that equation. Wherever your heart is, another way to put it, you got to figure it out. Because wherever you're going to go work, there's going to be issues. At least I think so. The other part is learn your craft, knowledge. Always get really good at whatever your passion is. And yeah, here's the word, work, or learn. Work at it. And when you're in that profession, keep at it. Keep that motivation going. Keep your desire to learn always going, and be global about it. If you're going into criminal justice, yes, also no biology, no psychology, no math. The more global your knowledge is, the better. And be realistic. They've said that too. Be realistic. Figure out what the job really means. I can relate to in law enforcement well. You don't like report writing, you're in trouble. You better like Cop 1 when you come to college. So get a realistic idea what the job really is, and they all told you the same thing. Shadow, mentor, find people that are doing it. Do volunteer work at that organization. Get it figured out. And you know what? You'll have a good life.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate all the answers to this. This has been, I think, a good broad view. Does anyone have any questions from the audience? I think you were waiting pining to ask questions. Oh, yes, ma'am.
Do each of your offices, maybe not so much for Frank, but for Chief and Megan and Kate, do you offer shadowing experiences or any kind of experiential learning and internships that you can offer JCCC students?
Great question.
So we have a paid internship program for law students. You can get, when you're in law school, you can get a student practice license, and that allows you to go into court. And actually, that's what I did when I was in law school. We have the same program here. In terms of undergrad, we have a volunteer program. So I believe that would be something that undergrad students could apply for and go do. We also do offer shadowing opportunities. On occasion, we send out messages, hey, got a high school or college student wanting to shadow, any interesting court going on a particular day, so that they can, go and see an interesting hearing or something like that. So yeah, there are definitely opportunities.
Nothing formal here, but I would love to do it, be open to it. I more get calls from, like, let's go to coffee. My niece is thinking about going to law school. Would you go talk? Those kind of things, very informal, but would love to do something more formal if we wanted to do that on campus.
And we just started our internship program about 3 years ago. And I am very excited to say I'm getting ready to go to our first intern who we hired. He's graduating from the academy on Friday. And so it's hard. We're not a big department, so we generally have two, and we interview them in the spring for the summer, and it's a paid position. I will say you make more than the lifeguard, but it is you will learn everything there is to learn. We don't just give you a bunch of files to file away or busy work. You're out doing ride-alongs. You're going on calls for service. You're in dispatch. You go to every aspect of law enforcement, and it's paid off. So I would love to do more of it.
Any other questions? I'm going to have Amy stand up really quick and just talk a little bit about career development and what support they can provide.
So, speaking of realistic as well, my first goal in life was to be a professional basketball player. Unlike Kate, I was not paid to play it in college. I was just awesome and did it. So when that didn't work out, the next best thing was I really want to help people, and how am I going to do that? And so it led me to higher education, and I've been in a wide variety of roles helping students figure out their path and their journey. So to that, I'm the internship and employer relations coordinator here at JCCC. A lot of what we do, what I do and what the Career Development Center does is prepare students to take on opportunities for shadowing, experiential learning, internships, employment opportunities. So if you have interest in getting your professional materials up to par and ready to go, resume reviews, LinkedIn, those types of things, you can come see me. If you have interest in shadowing and you don't know where to start, where do I go to find that type of experience? Or if you're getting ready for entry-level employment and you're just not sure which companies to look at, maybe how to interview, how to write a cover letter, the do's and don'ts, etiquette, those types of things. I really want you to come see me and see us in the Career Development Center. I'm going to leave my card, so feel free to take it. And even if you just don't know where to start and you want to write me an email that just says, hey, I'm just not sure, I want to go down this certain path, what do you recommend? That's a perfectly great place to start. So please use us.
Amy, do you all still help with negotiating salaries when
Sure.
people are going into interviews?
Sure.
That's something that I've got questions about. So.
Yeah, no, we could definitely do that.
Excellent. All right. Well, I want to thank our wonderful panel. I appreciate your time and your heart, because you all have a passion for the areas you're in, and you can see that when you speak. So I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thanks to the audience. Cookies, drinks, all of that over there. Thanks a bunch.